Here is a number that should genuinely scare you. Every single year, 1 out of every 4 men over 60 falls. That is 25% of all older men hitting the ground at least once per year. But here is what makes this statistic terrifying. Falls are now the leading cause of injury-related death in men over 65. We are not talking about car accidents. We are not talking about heart attacks in this context. We are talking about falling down. A study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society followed over 12,000 men for 6 years. The researchers found that men who experienced just one serious fall had a 42% higher risk of dying within the next 3 years compared to men who never fell. That number climbed to 67% for men who fell multiple times. Now you might be thinking this does not apply to you. You feel strong. You feel capable. But your body is changing whether you notice it or not. After age 30, men lose 3 to 5% of their muscle mass every single decade. This process accelerates dramatically after 60. Scientists call this sarcopenia, which simply means age-related muscle loss. A landmark study from Tufts University found that men between 60 and 70 lose muscle 3 times faster than men in their 40s. By age 80, the average man has lost nearly 40% of the muscle he had at 30. But here is the good news. This is completely reversible. Research from multiple institutions has proven that the right exercises can not only stop this decline, but actually turn back the clock on your body. A study from the University of Michigan followed men in their 60s and 70s who started a simple daily exercise routine. After just 12 weeks, these men showed strength gains of 30 to 40%. Their balance improved by 25%. Their walking speed increased by 15%. Most importantly, their risk of falling dropped by nearly half. The 3 exercises I am about to share with you are not complicated. You do not need a gym membership. You do not need expensive equipment. You do not need to spend hours working out. These are simple movements that take less than 15 minutes per day combined, but they are the exact movements that research has proven to be most effective for men over 60. I have ranked them from important to most important based on the scientific evidence. And the number 1 exercise on this list might genuinely shock you. It is not what most people expect. In fact, a groundbreaking study from Harvard Medical School found that men who did this one specific movement daily reduced their risk of early death by an astonishing 40%. Stick around because you need to hear this. Before we begin, let us know in the comments now your age and where you're watching us from. We read and reply to every single comment, so drop your comments below. Now let us start with exercise number 3 and work our way up to the most important one. Number 3, daily walking. Let us start with the 3rd most important exercise on this list, and it is probably the one you are already somewhat familiar with. Walking. But before you roll your eyes and think you have heard this a million times, let me share some numbers that will change how you think about this simple activity. A massive study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine tracked over 47,000 adults for an average of 7 years. The researchers specifically looked at men over 60. What they found was remarkable. Men in this age group who walked just 22 minutes per day had a 25% lower risk of dying from any cause compared to men who were sedentary. That is less than half an hour. That is 1 episode of a sitcom without commercials. But here is where it gets really interesting. When these men increased their walking to 40 minutes per day, their risk dropped by another 15%. And when they hit 60 minutes of walking per day, their cardiovascular disease risk plummeted by 31%. Now let me explain why walking is so powerful for men over 60 specifically. As you age, your arteries naturally become stiffer. This is called arterial stiffness, and it forces your heart to work harder to pump blood throughout your body. A study from the University of Colorado measured arterial stiffness in men before and after a 16-week walking program. The results were stunning. Men who walked daily showed arterial stiffness levels similar to men 20 years younger. Their blood vessels had literally become more flexible and youthful. Walking also does something remarkable for your brain. A study from the University of Pittsburgh used brain scans to measure the hippocampus, which is the part of your brain responsible for memory. In sedentary men over 60, this region shrinks by about 1 to 2% every year. But men who walked 40 minutes 3 times per week actually grew their hippocampus by 2% over the course of a year. That is not just stopping decline. That is reversing it. So how do you maximize the benefits of daily walking? First, forget everything you have heard about 10,000 steps. That number was invented by a Japanese marketing campaign in the 1960s. It has no scientific basis. The research shows that for men over 60, the sweet spot is between 7,000 and 8,000 steps per day. A study from JAMA Internal Medicine found that mortality risk decreases significantly up to about 8,000 steps, and then the benefits plateau. Going beyond that does not hurt you, but it does not help much either. The pace of your walking matters more than most people realize. You want to walk at what researchers call a moderate intensity. This means you should be able to talk, but not sing. Your breathing should be slightly elevated, but you should not be gasping for air. A study from the Mayo Clinic found that walking at this moderate pace burned nearly twice as many calories as strolling and provided significantly greater cardiovascular benefits. The best time to walk is whenever you will actually do it consistently. However, research does suggest some optimal windows. A study published in Diabetologia found that walking for just 15 minutes after each meal dramatically improved blood sugar control in older adults. This is particularly important for men over 60 because your ability to regulate blood sugar decreases with age. Walking after meals helps your muscles absorb glucose from your bloodstream, reducing the spike that happens after eating. For surfaces, try to vary where you walk. Walking on uneven terrain like grass, trails, or sand activates more muscles and challenges your balance. A study from Kyoto University found that older adults who walked on varied surfaces showed 20% greater improvements in balance compared to those who only walked on flat pavement. This does not mean you need to go hiking every day. Simply alternating between sidewalks, grass, and different surfaces around your neighborhood provides these benefits. One more crucial detail about walking: wear proper shoes. This sounds obvious, but research shows that many older men wear shoes that actually increase their fall risk. A study from Harvard Medical School found that thin, flexible shoes with good grip improved balance and stability compared to thick, cushioned shoes. The reasoning is that thinner shoes allow your feet to feel the ground better, providing important sensory feedback that helps with balance. But walking alone is not enough. It is a foundation, but you need something more to truly protect yourself as you age. Number 2. Single leg balance stands. The second most important exercise for men over 60 is something you probably have not thought about since you were a kid. Standing on one leg. This sounds almost too simple to matter. But the science behind this movement is profound, and the research shows it could literally save your life. A study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine tested over 1,700 men and women aged 51 to 75. The test was simple. Stand on one leg for 10 seconds with your eyes open. The results were startling. Participants who could not complete this simple test had an 84% higher risk of dying within the next 7 years compared to those who could. That is not a typo. Failing to balance on one leg for just 10 seconds was associated with nearly double the risk of death. Why is single leg balance so strongly connected to mortality? The answer involves multiple body systems. Balancing on one leg requires your brain to coordinate information from your eyes, your inner ear, and sensors in your muscles and joints called proprioceptors. It requires strength in your ankles, knees, hips, and core. It requires your nervous system to make rapid adjustments dozens of times per second. When any of these systems starts to decline, your ability to balance declines with it. So single leg balance acts as a kind of overall health check for your body. Here is what makes this even more important for men specifically. A study from the Archives of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation found that men lose their balance abilities faster than women as they age. The researchers believe this is partly because men tend to have less body awareness, and partly because men are more likely to overestimate their physical capabilities. This combination makes men over 60 particularly vulnerable to falls. The good news is that balance is highly trainable at any age. A meta-analysis published in Sports Medicine reviewed 42 different studies on balance training in older adults. The combined data showed that regular balance exercises reduced fall risk by 23%. For those who already had balance problems, the reduction was even greater at 38%. Now let me explain exactly how to do single leg balance stands for maximum benefit. Start by standing near a wall or sturdy chair that you can grab if needed. Lift one foot off the ground by bending your knee and raising your foot a few inches behind you. The goal is to balance without touching anything for support. Hold this position for as long as you can, up to 30 seconds, then switch to the other leg. When you first start, you might find that 30 seconds feels impossible. That is completely normal. A study from the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity found that the average untrained 65-year-old can only balance on one leg for about 12 seconds with eyes open. Do not be discouraged by this. The same study found that after just 4 weeks of daily practice, average balance time more than doubled. To progress this exercise and get even greater benefits, there are several modifications you can make. First, try closing your eyes while balancing. This removes visual input and forces your body to rely more heavily on the sensors in your muscles and inner ear. A study from the University of Sydney found that practicing eyes-closed balance improved overall stability by 32% more than eyes-open practice alone. Start with just 5 seconds eyes closed and gradually increase as you improve. Another progression is to stand on a softer surface like a folded towel or a foam pad. This challenges your ankle stability and activates more of the small stabilizer muscles in your feet and lower legs. Research from Rehabilitation Research and Practice showed that soft surface balance training